The Cowboys made a surprise signing over the weekend, agreeing to terms with free agent quarterback Andy Dalton. It's 1 year, it's $3 million, could be worth up to $7 million with incentives.
Because Andy Dalton is now considered one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league.
The chances that Dalton starts week 1 rather than Dak Prescott, Stephen A.
I think it's 50-50.
Here's my man, Jeff Darlington, with the very latest this morning. Jeff, what does this signing of Andy Dalton tell us about where the Cowboys stand with Dak Prescott?
Not much, Greeny. Look.
All right, thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to be talking about Andy Dalton. Everyone has different takes. There's all kinds of different videos on Andy Dalton. People are talking about how good of a backup quarterback he is. People want to talk about the possibilities of Andy Dalton starting. Really, what Andy Dalton is to me is a cautionary tale for the Dallas Cowboys as it pertains to the Dak Prescott contract. Now let's look at the similarities between Andy Dalton and Dak Prescott. Both guys are good quarterbacks. All right, both guys been to the Pro Bowl. Both guys need to have a serious amount of weaponry around them in order to be successful. Now, we've definitely seen that with Andy Dalton, as the Bengals have been on the decline, mostly because there's not enough weapons for Andy Dalton to work with. I know what you're going to say. Every quarterback needs weapons. That's true. They do. But there are quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers who can still get you to the playoffs and still keep you respectable and in the hunt, even without all the weaponry. Hell, in the case of Russell Wilson, even without an offensive line, it's worth a damn. Now, you can easily say, well, Dak Prescott has the second most wins since he's came into the league, behind Russell Wilson. That's true. But also look at what was he able to do when Zeke Elliott was suspended. He looked like ass. And the time between Dez Bryant, when they let him go, and they acquired Amari Cooper, in that period, how did Dak Prescott look? He looked like shit. That's the bottom line. The dude sucked. He needs a number 1 receiver. He needs one of the best running backs in the game. He needs one of the best offensive lines. He needs a solid defense. Dak, he needs a lot around him in order to get the full Dak experience, the full Dak attack, if you will. Andy Dalton's the same way. He needs all kinds of crap around him in order to have a good season and get you into the playoffs. But basically, when they're at their height, they can, either one of these quarterbacks can sneak into the top 10 when they're at their best and they got all the weapons around them. But that's not always the case. Because here's where you get into problems, and this is where Cincinnati got into problems. All right, that's the decline of talent around your quarterback who's good. He's good. He's just not great. You get guys getting older, they retire, or they're not as good anymore, and they have a high contract, they get released and go somewhere else. All these things happen, and that eats away at the amount of talent an organization has to put around the quarterback. And you can say, well, you just replace them through the draft. Well, the Cincinnati had really good drafts, including Andy Dalton. But that you can't count on that all the time. I mean, this year's draft with the Dallas Cowboys, it's an A+ draft on paper. We just don't know what these guys are going to turn into later on. Are they going to be top guys? You know, or are they just going to be journeymen? You know, CeeDee Lamb looks like he's going to be a beast. But I don't know. I mean, he could end up playing for 5 different teams, having a good career, but just never being a great receiver. We don't know. And a lot of that happened to Cincinnati. They've had some, you know, quote-unquote good drafts, but those guys just didn't live up to their draft position. It seemed like they got good value in certain positions throughout the years, and that value just never came to fruition. That's what happens. So you can't count on having badass drafts that work out with badass players year after year. Which means when you have a quarterback who cannot carry a franchise with substandard talent, then you're going to be looking at more seasons of 8-8 or worse. And with Andy Dalton, they got a lot worse. And trust me, with Dak Prescott, can you be drafting in the top 5 and have Dak Prescott start all 16 games? You damn right you can. You damn right you can. If his top receiver's out for the year, if Zeke Elliott's out for the year, or he gets a little bit older and gets cut, I mean, I'm sorry, but Dak is not the guy to elevate a team and keep them respectable. He can't do that. Neither can Andy Dalton. And that's why this is a cautionary tale. You're wanting to pay the black version of Andy Dalton, albeit Dak is a little better with his legs. He is. And people try to give him credit for being a better leader than Andy Dalton, but I don't know that. Andy Dalton was very well respected in Cincinnati. Even if you want to give Dak a little bit of an edge on that, fine. Whatever. I'll go with you. All right, Dak's a little better leader, a little better with his legs. It's not going to count to get you from being a 5 or 6 win team to a 10-win team. I'll give him credit. He can really help. He can help win games. Andy Dalton can help win games. But they can't elevate a team with substandard talent into a playoff team. They can't do it. They're not that quarterback. So what do I say? You don't pay Dak that kind of fool's gold. That's exactly what it is, man. It's stupid money. There's a lot of people in the media are trying to beat up the Cowboys because this has taken so long. And it's not just a big national media. It's not just ESPN and Fox Sports 1 and people on those networks. You know, it's little YouTube channels, you know, like the Cowboys Report with Tom Downey, for instance. You know, this guy's like, well, you know, hey, it's the Cowboys' fault. They had a whole year and a half to sign the guy. They didn't get the job done. You know, it's on them that Dak's going to cost more now. Bullshit. That's bullshit. They've been offering contracts all the way up. And of course, you're going to start at the lowest possible rung. But if the player really wants to get the damn thing done, he'll get it done. It's not just about Jerry Jones. I mean, everything that I've heard, they kept raising their offer. I mean, there's all kinds of reports out there. Understand, nothing's been substantiated by the team, by Dak, by anybody. But it's obvious, if you look at it, it's obvious there's been at least 3 times in the last year that Dallas and Dak have come together and discussed terms and tried to negotiate a deal. I guarantee you all 3 times Dallas has upped their offer. So to me, that's just an out and out lie. Okay, because it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 sides to come to a deal. So it's not just on Dallas, it's also on Dak. And then you have guys like Stephen A. Smith who are constantly, you know, they keep throwing out this, well, if this is Tony Romo, the deal would be done by now. The deal would just be done by now. I don't know that. No one knows that. He's speculating, of course. That's what they do during a pandemic when they have a show and they got a camera just like me in some room in their house, and it's all guesswork. It's all BS. They're throwing out opinions just like me. You could take that with a grain of salt, but I will say this: there's a difference between Dak and Tony Romo, and there's a difference between Dak and Carson Wentz. There's a difference between Dak and Russell Wilson. There's a difference between Dak and every other player this past year that has gotten paid by the Dallas Cowboys. There's a significant difference. One major difference. They all signed their deals. That's the big freaking difference. You could say, well, Dallas paid Jalen Smith. Well, Jalen Smith signed the fucking deal, didn't he? You know, they paid Tony Romo once upon a time. Tony Romo signed the deal. He didn't have to. He could have held out too. He could have said, no, I want more than that. I want more than that. It's not enough to be a top 3 paid guy or top 2 paid guy. You know, I want to be the number 1 paid guy by a freaking country mile. He didn't do that. He signed the deal. I'm sure they tried to lowball Tony Romo a little bit, and he came back with something. They came back with something. He came back with something else, and they met in the middle. And look at all the other players that the Dallas Cowboys have signed. Even Zeke Elliott, they made him the number 1 paid running back in all of sports and all of football. However, it's a deal where the Cowboys can get out from underneath it in 3 years. There's some give and take. There's some give and take. Zeke realized that. He held out. And the Cowboys finally did pay him, but we have to be able to get out from underneath this thing if it goes south. So that they worked in a deal like that. Jalen Smith, same thing. I mean, Amari Cooper, he could have made the case that he should be paid as the number 1 wide receiver in the league. But because he likes it in Dallas, he sees the opportunity here in Dallas, on the field and off the field, that really means something to him. He decided to come in a little bit under what he could have asked. He could have asked for anything he wanted. He could have asked for the moon. He didn't. Now, he's still getting paid an ass ton of money. He's the number 2 paid wide receiver in the league. He came in just under the number 1 guy. Is Dak trying to do that? I have a feeling if he was, the deal would have been done by now. But it's not. Look, frankly, I'm sick of Dak. I like Dak at a responsible number. He's still going to be the highest paid Dallas Cowboy regardless of whatever he signs. And it's not going to even be close. Whatever he signs for is going to be north of $30 million. $30 million a year on average. But from what I'm hearing, he's fighting about, I want a 4-year deal instead of a 5-year deal. Well, there's no difference. All right? If you sign a 5-year contract, you come back after your 4th year and say, I want a new contract. If they're like, well, no, you have to play that 5th. No. I'm not playing the 5th deal. I'm not playing the 5th year. I'm going to sit my ass on the sideline. I'm not going to do a damn thing. You can trade me. You can cut me. But I'm not going to play on that 5th year money. You're going to have to re-up me. That's Dak's right. And by then he would have made an ass ton of money. He could sit out the year if he needs to. He doesn't give a damn. It doesn't matter a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal. Because here's the real truth of it. He wants a 4-year deal so he can come back after 3 years and re-up again. That's the truth. That's what he's going to do. So if he gets his way, I'm telling you, after 3 years, he's going to come back for more money. That's if he gets better. And maybe he'll be worth it. I don't know. He ain't worth it right now. Personally, the way I feel, you rescind that damn franchise tag. You let him hit the open market. You go out and you get Cam Newton. You got Andy Dalton. You got Cam Newton. I'd rather have those two as a tandem than have Dak. Period. Because one thing I can tell you about Cam, he can get you to a Super Bowl. He can get you past a divisional round. Dak ain't done that yet. You can say everything you want to say about the 4 years of Dak Prescott. He's 1-2 in the playoffs. And he seems to have a lot of trouble in the first half of games. If you notice, he doesn't score shit in the first half. Second half, oh, here we come. That's great. That's a great thing to be able to do in the second half of a game. Put some points on the board. That's important. But how many times have we seen the Cowboys lose, especially in the playoffs, because they can't score in the first half, or they're turning the ball over in the first half? The other team scoring points on them in the first half. Oh, here they come roaring back. Well, coming back in the playoffs is not the easiest damn thing. It's better to keep it close or get a lead. But you can't count on that with Dak. I would love to see Cam Newton in a Dallas Cowboys uniform with this talent, with that receiving core. Remember, Cam got all the way to the Super Bowl without his number 1 wide receiver. He was out before the season started. I won one of my fantasy leagues that year because I got Cam Newton in the 12th round of the fantasy draft. Why? Because he didn't have a number 1 receiver. No one thought he was going to put up any kind of points. He had an MVP season and got to the Super Bowl without a true number 1 wide receiver. Now, he had a really good defense, that's for sure. But man, it was Cam that carried that team to the Super Bowl. Can Dak do that? What can Dak do without a number 1 wide receiver? Jack shit. We've seen it. We've seen him do jack shit without a true number one wide receiver. You can say, well, he's got one. He's got another one on the way in CeeDee Lamb. What happens if they get hurt? What happens if CeeDee Lamb doesn't turn out to be a number one wide receiver? What happens if it's just Amari and Amari gets hurt? Something happens. It happens all the time. It happens to everybody. It happened to A.J. Green with Andy Dalton. And what did Andy Dalton do without A.J. Green? Jack shit. That's what he did. In closing, Andy Dalton, yes, he can win you some regular season games. I don't know about postseason. He hadn't ever looked worth a damn in the postseason. But he can win you some regular season games. And other than that, yeah, he's a really good, probably the best backup quarterback in the league right now. However, what is he really? It's a cautionary tale. Don't pay Dak. He has shown his true colors. He's about that money. He ain't about the Cowboys. He ain't about winning. I don't give a damn what you say. I don't give a damn what anyone says. If Dak was truly, and it was obvious to everybody, Dak was worth the kind of money he's asking for and the years he's asking for, he'd get whatever he wanted. You watch what happens with Patrick Mahomes. He's going to get what he wants. Russell Wilson, he laid down the law. I ain't playing unless you give me what I want. What happened? Seattle made him the highest paid quarterback in the league. Those guys have earned it. They got rings. They got numbers. They're the total package. Dak's not. Dak's the half package. That's all I got on Dak or any of this. I'm tired of talking about Dak, and it gets old seeing that crap all over the internet all the time, all over these sports shows. It's all they talk about is Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, or LeBron James. I'm kind of done with Dak. I'll do another video if and when he signs, if and when they rescind the franchise tag, which they won't. But if by some miracle they pull their heads out of their ass and do that, then I'll do a video on Dak. I'll do a video on that decision. But after this, I'm just kind of... I'm going to concentrate my energies on other videos, other topics, still probably mostly sports. But I want to get into some other stuff. Just because there's not a lot of sports to talk about right now, and I'm not going to pretend or try to come up with some content for you guys that sucks and is boring and who cares, because well, it's sports, I gotta do sports. No, I don't. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. I got a new room to do my crap in, so I can do whatever I want to do. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I'll be back with some other crap, no matter what it's about, some other time. Bye.